The Drivers' Championship for 2024 started off looking like a foregone conclusion, but then it got very competitive. But in the end, it turned out exactly as we all expected in the beginning. But the Constructors' Championship was a very different story. Heading into the final race, it felt like a familiar narrative was unfurling. Abu Dhabi started off looking like it was going to be a slam dunk for McLaren, with a front row lockout for the Papaya Boys and Charles Leclerc starting all the way down in 19th. But then, it got very competitive. Let's talk about that. Welcome to the season finale of Race Weekend Update, an F1-themed ripoff of SNL Weekend Update. Abu Dhabi started off with a terrible pun from Crofty.
Right then, let's Abu Dhabi do this, shall we?
But things quickly got serious when Max did an impression of his best friend George Russell and rammed a car in turn 1. With Piastri dropping to the back of the grid and Leclerc propelling himself up to 12th place, suddenly things were looking pretty good for Ferrari. They were only trailing McLaren by 21 points, and with two cars potentially scoring, they could do it so long as Norris didn't win. And let's be honest, if there's anyone out there who can blow a pole position, it's first lap Lando. The situation got even worse for McLaren when Piastri decided to apply for Canadian citizenship by rear-ending Colapinto's Williams, earning himself a 10-second penalty and making it that much more difficult for him to get into a scoring position. Leclerc kept climbing up the order and the pressure on Lando to maintain the lead continued to mount, but he wasn't putting a foot wrong. The final battle for the Constructors' Championship was becoming more and more reminiscent of the battle for the Drivers' Championship. The dominant leader who was way ahead suddenly being challenged by a formerly distant second place. It all felt so fitting until the hard tires came on. Lando was pulling a solid 10th per lap on Sainz, but somehow Leclerc was working miracles in his Ferrari, propelling himself all the way up to a podium position. By the end of the race, Hamilton had a champion's drive, rocketing himself up to 4th from 16th, with the beautiful irony being that Leclerc had an even better drive, taking himself from 19th to 3rd, which perfectly sums up Hamilton's final years at Mercedes. No matter what he did, somebody else did it better. After 2 hours of watching Zak Brown bite his nails until they were bloody stumps, Lando pulled it off and won the race, securing the Constructors for McLaren. Frankly, it was a fun race to watch, but after 24 Grand Prix, I am done with this season. So of course they finished off the broadcast by announcing yet another 24 race season. It's all just too much. I adore F1, but it's like icing. I love icing, but I don't want to eat a whole bowl of it. If this season had been shorter, maybe there would have been more hype surrounding the final battles for both championships. But even my group chat full of friends who are into F1 went quiet a couple months ago. We share memes now and then, but nobody seems to be watching the races live anymore. It's becoming a chore. F1 wants to take up nearly half of my weekends every year. And after 3 years of giving up every other Sunday to make a video about each race, I find myself empathizing with all the F1 crew. It's time to cut down the calendar and prioritize quality over quantity. F1 makes a ton of money. They're not hurting financially. And for the first time ever, F1 teams are turning a profit. They can afford to turn down some of the pay tracks, which is what I call all of the terrible street circuits that are only there because they pay to be on the calendar. They're the Lance Stroll of racetracks. I look forward to enjoying the winter break. And next season, you can expect to see me follow my ethos. I will be making fewer, higher quality videos. I'm also going to get back into making F1 parody songs. And if you want to see what those are all about, why don't you watch this one, which is about the time that Lance Stroll broke his wrists. Honestly, it's one of my favorites. I'll see you there.